Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And this week I'm going to show you some cards that are made with a stamp set that can be yours for free during Celebration, which runs through March 31st. And in the Celebration catalog, there is this great stamp set here. It's called Epic Celebrations, and it's free with a $50 purchase. And your $50 purchase can come from the annual catalog, the occasions catalog, and even from the clearance rack. No matter where you spend your $50, you can choose this as a free set. I'm also using a piece of designer series paper that comes from this paper pack that is also available for free, and it's called the Bubbles and Fizz, and it coordinates with the Bubble Over stamp set that's in the occasions catalog. And I did make quite a few projects using that a few weeks ago, but I'm going to use this paper because it's nice and bright. And again, this is free. I'm using the striped paper here. But this is just such a cool stamp set. I see this for teenagers. I see it for people who are an older generation who remember wearing Converse and listening to it with their earphones. I think it's just a great stamp set. But anyway, let's get started. And I'm also going to date myself because way back when I was a kid, if someone gave you what is the equivalent of a gift card these days, they actually gave you cash. There were no gift cards available. So I made this money card, this money holder, to give as a birthday present. Of course, all I had in my pocketbook was one, so that's why there's a one in here. If I was giving it to someone, I would really put something a little larger than a one in there. But this takes me back to when I was a little girl, and we used to always get gift money card holders for our birthday. And because it is an odd size, it's 3.5 by 6.5, I believe, I had to make my own envelope. And that's not a problem at all. I used the envelope maker, and I was able to make this envelope that fits the card beautifully. And I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so that's going to be our whole project here. So again, this is the card we're making, and this is the great stamp set that I just absolutely love. I think it's just such a fun stamp set. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with a piece of thick Whisper White, and this is cut at 6.5 by 7. Now there's a very small difference between the 6.5 and the 7. Trust me, I made a few mistakes myself. So after you cut it 6.5 by 7, bring it over to your scoreboard, and with the 7-inch side along the top, score it at 3.5. Okay, so you want 3.5 as your height and 6.5 as your length. Then we need another piece of white, Whisper White, and you can use the what you have left over from cutting the card base out. And this is, excuse me, 7 by 2.5. And what we're going to do with that is on 2 short sides and 1 long side, we're going to score it at 1/4. So, excuse me, 1/4 on this side, 1/4 on this side, and 1/4 on this side. Okay, now that I've scored my 2 sides and my 1 long side, I'm going to come in with my paper snips, and I'm going to cut out the bottom corners. Then I want some nice neat corners when I put it together, so I'm just going to notch this bottom part here. Okay, so that's what my card looks like. Now I'm going to come in with my 1-inch circle punch, and along the top of this, I'm going to center this kind of in the middle, and I'm going to make myself a notch. And that's where I'm going to pull the money from. Now at this point here, I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to use the stamp set Happy Birthday Gorgeous, and I'm going to use this Happy Birthday stamp right there. And because it is a photopolymer stamp, I am going to bring in my Pierce mat, and I'm going to stamp that in basic black. Okay, now I'm going to put that aside. Now I'm going to fold back those sides, those score lines that I made. I mean, it is easier if you use regular Whisper White for this little piece here. But like I said, because I had it on that piece of paper, I thought, why waste it? So I'm just going to use it. Now I'm going to come in with some tear tape, and I'm just going to lay some tear tape here. Burnish that nicely, and with my pierce tool we'll remove those strips. And if I have any adhesive that's sticking out, I'm going to just roll that in. I don't want it on the inside of my card because then it's going to stick to my cash. Okay, and I'm going to bring in my card base, and this is going to go on the bottom here, but it's going to be easier for me to line it up if I turn my card upside down, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line this up, and then I'm going to just bring in my flaps and push those down as well. And there I have the inside of my card. There's my pocket. And my cash is going to fit nicely in my pocket. Now with our pocket done, I'm going to put that aside, and we're going to decorate the front of our card. And for that, I have a piece of that designer series paper. And this is cut at 6 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I'm going to mount that onto this piece of basic gray, which is cut at 6 3/8 by 3 3/8. I'm going to do that with my snail. Even this back side is such a nice print. I could have used that, but I wanted going for something bright. And this is a tiny little border here. And before I attach this to my card, I want to add some ribbon to it. Okay, now I have my ribbon. This is retired basic gray stitched Grosgrain ribbon. I'm going to cut a piece a little longer than my card, and then another shorter piece. I'm going to lay the long piece down in the back and the shorter piece along the top towards the top, because my bow is not going to be centered. My knot, I should say. It's not a bow. And I'm going to just pull that tight. And now I'm going to, on my card, I'm going to put some snail. I'm going to see where I want this. Not quite in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to snip my tails. And now I can mount this onto my card base. We're almost done. And here we go. Now this looks pretty in and of itself, just like this. Looks like a wrapped present. And so you could certainly make the money holder just like this. But I'm going to add that stamp to it. So what I'm going to do, I have a piece of scrap Whisper White, and with Memento ink, I'm going to ink up the sneakers. And I'm going to just stamp that there. Now I'm going to come in with my lemon lime twist and a blender pen. Just make sure my blender pen is clean here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just color the inside of my sneaker here. I'm going to leave this outside white. Actually, I think I might do a little bit of gray on this one here. Okay, so let me get this part first. I'm changing my design as I go along. I always do that. So I'm just going to use my blender pen that's been dipped in to my stamp pad, and I'm going to come in and just color my sneaker, trying to get in between where the laces would go. And rather than have you watch me do this, I'm going to do it off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, and now I'm going to come in with my basic gray, and I'm going to do the same thing after I cleaned off my blender pen. And I'm just going to do the same to the bottom half of this sneaker. Now, I'm going to cut it out, punch it out, die cut it out. And for that, I'm going to use my Stitch Shapes framelit. I'm going to run over to the Big Shot. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back with my die cut. Now, I could just take this and put it right here. But I like mats. And I didn't want a big mat on this because I thought it would take away and make it too busy. So I'm going to just come in with my basic gray Stampin' Right marker, and using the fat tip, I'm just going to run it over the edge of this card. And that's going to give me a very slight border on this, so that when I put it down on my card base, it's not the white, it just stands out nicer. What I'll tell you not to do, and I've seen so many people do it, is take your stamp pad and just run this through. You will ruin your stamp pads if you do that. You know how you get a paper cut from paper? It's because paper cuts. If you do that in your stamp pad, you're going to cut your stamp pad, and you don't want to do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this one up on dimensionals. I didn't on my original, but if you follow me now, if you've been following me, you know that as I'm remaking my cards for my videos, chances are I'm going to change up my design as I go along, because I think of things that I didn't think of when I was making the card. Okay, so here are my dimensionals. This one was stuck to me. I'm going to take the backings off. And I'm going to pop that right here. And there's the card. Now we need to make the envelope. And to do that, I'm going to use my envelope maker. And it's pretty easy to figure out how to do it. My card measures 3.5 by 6.5. So I look on my envelope maker and I see that there is a 3.5 by 6.5 card. And it tells me that I need a piece of paper that's 8.25 by 8.25, and it tells me my first score line is at 3 1/8. So I have already cut myself a piece of paper that is 8.25 by 8.25, and this time I'm not going to use the Whisper White. I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay. So my envelope punch board tells me that my first score line needs to be at 3 1/8. So I'm going to line my paper up at 3 1/8. And I'm going to punch and score. Then I'm going to take that line and line it up with this little point here. And I'm going to punch and score. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to line up my score line with that little point, and I'm going to punch and score, and then I'm going to do it one last time. Punch and score. And I love this little envelope maker because it has a little place to store the score tool so that I know I'm not going to lose it. And it also has a little spot back here where you can put your paper in, punch, and you round your edge. So there is my envelope. And I'm going to fold my papers in. Now, I love my envelope maker, but what I don't like is this long piece here. It doesn't look very nice. So what I do is I take a pencil, and right where these two pieces intersect, I make a little tick mark. Then I bring in my paper cutter. I line my paper cutter up this way, flush, make that flush, and then I line this little tick mark up with the cutting groove, and I slice that off. And now my envelope closes up just the way I like it. So I'm going to take some snail. Should probably use fast fuse for this because that'll be a little stronger. And I'm going to fold that in. And now here's my card, and it's going to fit in there just beautifully. Yeah, definitely do need some fast fuse. You need something a little stronger for that. And there's our beautiful money holder card. There we go. Isn't that great? I just love this stamp set. It's just so fun and vibrant and cheery with all the great colors. The possibilities are endless. If you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I've used, or if you'd like to get a copy of the Occasions catalog and a Celebration catalog in the mail, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator with whom you work, certainly contact me at www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com, and I'll be glad to drop one in the mail to you. And remember, a $50 order will get you this great stamp set for free. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you back here later this week.